Hey guys, welcome back to Blind Strike Exotics. I'm John, and today I want to talk about my new rat setup. I feel like I'm making a new one of these videos every single year, but as you can see, and maybe I'll do a new video on this maybe next week or later next month. But I've completely kind of revamped my snake room, or I'm in the process of doing so. My Freedom Breeder rat rack just came in, and I'm kind of just cleaning this place up a lot. So we will get to the Freedom Breeder rack last. These two rat racks are the same. Basically, what I'm going to end up doing is, I used to have a wooden like muscle rack over here, and these bigger rat breeding tubs, they just had, a mom and the litter of babies, or a breeding pair of rats until the mom was pregnant, and then I'd take the dad out, put the dad into one of those rats, and then the mom would just raise the litter here until they were weaned, and then I would cycle a male back in. What I'm doing here in this rack is I got the two different size Freedom Breeder tubs, and what these bigger tubs are going to be is these are going to be the males with multiple females. Once the female gets pregnant, you pull it out, you put it up into one of these ones and let it raise its litter up here. Once the litter is raised, you cycle the females back down into these bigger bins. This is going to allow me to breed more. These 10 tubs here will then just only be for raising up the rats, so they're smalls or mediums or whatever they need to be. I got rid of the wooden muscle rack because it didn't have casters. Basically everything in here now is on wheels, so everything is completely mobile. This rack here, it's a metal rack from Sam's Club. I forget the brand. I actually think it's like Members Mark. It's $120. These shelves are supposed to hold up to a couple 100 pounds each. There are 6 shelves on it, and I acquired a bunch of these laboratory tubs for mice. So then I wired this rack. This is going to be my mouse breeding rack, and I can fit 8 of these little tubs on each one of these rows, and these tubs will be for the moms to raise up the little baby mice when they're pregnant. I'm taking this rack, and this is going to be the mouse grow out rack and like the mouse breeding rack. Once the females get pregnant, they come out of here and they go into here. So that is where we're at right now with how I've kind of redesigned the rodent breeding here, because I'm getting ready for next season, 2023. I think I counted 40 females that I'm going to be breeding. So my rat and mouse production is going to need to go through the roof. So I needed to make all of these changes. No, I didn't need to buy the Freedom Breeder rack. I just kind of felt like it was going to make my life easier, so I did. I needed to make all these other changes to start producing more rodents. So this is going to help me do that. My mouse production was always difficult because I was not able to separate them out, one by one, to see which females were actually having good litters or not. Now that I'm able to put them all in here, see which ones get pregnant, pull them out and put them over here, then I know, okay, that mom had a good litter, that mom didn't, which has worked extremely well for me with the rats, which is what I'm going to continue to do with the rats. However, the way this new setup works is it allows me to breed more females simultaneously than I was previously, because the way that it worked before, when they were all in a rack like this, is I had maybe 3 or 4 males that I would just cycle through week by week, and that would leave a bunch of females that were kind of growing up over here that I didn't have males for, that just were not being paired up with males. Now, basically, I have 12 tubs here for breeding pairs, so I'm going to have 12 males. They're going to be, and then I'm going to fit as many females as I fit in there. I would assume 3 or 4. I think Freedom Breeder says you can put 6 rats in there, but that seems like it's a little much. I believe that's what it said. So I may have like 1 male and 4 females in there, and they will do what they have to do. That means I'm going to have 4, 8, 12, 24, 48 females here at any given time that are being paired up with males, and there are 20 tubs up top here, so I can have 20 females that will fit in here at any given time that were pregnant. Whereas previously when I had this rack, I think I had 5 shells and there were 4 tubs that fit across the muscle rack, so I had 4, 8, 16, 20 females that could be pregnant. So I'm doubling the amount of females that I'm able to breed right now because of switching to this setup. All right, now to the Freedom Breeder rack and sort of my initial review. As you can see, I don't have anything in it yet. I chose to go with 4 levels of, I think these are the 840 10.5s, and these are the 840 20s, if I think I got that right. So the rack, it's a nice change from the ARS racks where you have to build them yourselves. You have to put in basically every single screw. You have to screw in all these rails that the tubs slide in and out of. This thing came fully assembled. The only thing I had to do is they put the casters, they mount them up here, upside down, so that it's flat when they pack it. All you have to do is unscrew the bolts, you know, flip them around and bolt them in. Now these levels do come apart like that, so you can actually take these levels off if you have a very tight space that you need to fit this into. So it is able to be taken apart level by level. It's not like it's just one big solid piece and then you're gonna jam it into a room. So that is a nice thing. I did figure that out before I bought it because I knew I was never gonna fit it into my house if I couldn't take it apart. But it actually did fit because I didn't go as high as I could. I'm glad I didn't go as high as I could because it is just to the tippy top of my roof. The bucket they give you as a reservoir is like a Home Depot bucket, like the 5-gallon buckets, and it's too tall for this. Luckily, I had an extra Reptile Basics 4-gallon bucket that I just purchased that does fit up top up here in my kind of short ceiling. It's impossible for me to take it down really to fill it up, so I actually had to buy a hose, and I just kind of fit it up over top of it and fill it up from the hose, which actually I don't know why I didn't do anyways. It's kind of a pain. I don't have any hose bibs in this room, but as I walk right out here through the snake room into my kind of storage area, I have a wash tub here, and I just attached the hose to it and put a hose reel up top, and it makes it a little easier. I don't know why I didn't do it before, because I was hoisting 5-gallon, 4-gallon buckets. I was filling them up and then lifting them up all the way up on top of these racks. Now I just take a hose and fill it up. Dumb on my part. Anyways, so I have the 2 different size tubs in here. I really liked the fact that you could custom build these to the specifications that you needed. I chose to go with the stainless steel nozzles here. I can pull that out. Now, they do tell you, and this is a very, very, very cautionary thing, to not put rodents in here until you've tested out these nozzles extensensively. And the reason why is because they tend to leak, and they are not necessarily even working either right out of the box. Up top, this tub up here, after I filled the reservoir with water, this tub was filled up with water when I came in here the next day, and basically these nozzles, if you've used the Reptile Basics ones, let me pull one of these off here. It might be a little easier to show you. It's a nozzle like this. It's one complete piece. There's nothing to do here other than press it and water comes out like this. Water comes out, you press it. These work the same way, however, they screw together, as you can see here, and the more you tighten it, the less water comes out, and the looser it is, the more water comes out. Well, some of them out of the box are extremely loose and some are extremely tight. I had a couple that didn't work at all. I had a couple that had slow leaks, and that one up top up there was just pouring out water. Luckily, it was a long day. I filled this up overnight and I left it sit here per Freedom Breeder's instructions, and I came in and that tub was almost overflowing. So now I got this, today's Wednesday, I got this on Monday, so it's been sitting here for 48 hours. I think I've worked out all the kinks. I have a couple that have a very slow release of water that I'm trying to figure out. Like loosening it a little bit isn't doing the trick. So I don't know why the water is coming out very slowly on those. But I've figured out all the issues with the ones that were leaking. So do not put rats in here right away once you get it. Make sure that you test out the water, that none of these nozzles are leaking, because you're going to end up flooding your rats. The other awesome thing about these racks is that they have these nice food hoppers, and you can choose whether you want them in the front or the back. I chose in the back because my dogs get down in the room and they like to feast on the rat food. This is nice because it keeps it contained, and you know, rather than kind of the messy look of these homemade rat racks that most people have, it keeps the food contained up there. Again, you know, this is completely unnecessary, to be honest. The difference is, and in my situation here, is I can't put my rats up in my garage because in the winter my garage isn't heated, and I wasn't going to pay to heat another room. And you know, as some of you may know, when it gets really cold, your production of rodents goes down, because you know, the animals are not really hibernating, but they're kind of going into that state. So rat production goes down, and I can't afford to have that. So these guys need to stay down here in the basement, and I don't want these in the rest of the basement because it's finished and we use that area, and I don't want it to smell like rats. Having a rat rack like this condenses a lot of what I'm trying to do here. You know, if you look at these two racks, there are 10 tubs there. And yes, I need to probably get rid of this one and get another one that has 6 levels, so I'm not kind of wasting space. But even if these both had 12 tubs, these two things here take up 12 tubs, whereas just the bottom of this rack is 12 tubs. Plus I have 4 more rows up there, and they take up the same amount of space on this wall. So being able to condense the space, not having these big bulky wooden frames, and condensing it into the, you know, the rack system where, you know, there's just this tiny little space between this tub and this tub. It's a huge, huge lifesaver. It's extremely well built. You know, it's a fine piece of equipment. The one kind of negative that I had with it right off the bat is this metal is not machined and smoothed off. It is very jagged. This metal here, and I don't know if you saw my review of the Vision Rat rack from last year where I had a rat get its face stuck in it. This is very rough. Now these holes are a lot bigger and they're elongated compared to what Vision's racks were, but these are very, very, very rough. I'm hoping I don't run into the same issues where I'm getting you know, rodents with their faces stuck in these. The other thing that I basically had happen to me, the very first 30 seconds of me disassembling this was I was taking off one of these casters, and I do not know where exactly it happened, but I sliced a gash in my finger, probably an inch deep, that just was pouring blood all over the place. So I don't know if it was, you know, from the inside here or from the actual kind of the base plate of it. I literally unscrewed the 3 bolts and I just grabbed it to pull it off, and it just put a huge gash in my finger. Now, I'm not savvy in terms of metal production and how hard it is to round off these edges and make sure that these pieces of metal are less dangerous, but I mean, again, I literally took off the caster and was immediately bleeding all over the place. So if you're going to be moving this around by yourself, you know, put on some work gloves. Just make sure that you're not you know, sliding your fingers in any of the metal. Now these posts, these are rounded off, there's nothing sharp here. You know, where they stick together, I mean, these joints are a little rough. You know, if you were to rub your finger up here, if you were to do it hard enough, you could probably cut yourself on it, because there is a sort of a, it's not a smooth transition between the levels. But if you're just touching the tubes, I'm trying to see these hoppers. I'm just trying to look at it from perspective of if you're just working in here, you know, and you touch something, is your finger going to get something on you, going to get scraped or cut? These folds right here seem to be a little more rounded off than the rest of it, but you could probably still cut yourself on that. You know, these kind of joints here are going to be spots where I could see that somebody could be snagging clothing or your finger on there and getting cut because they don't sit smoothly. Whereas I would say with these guys, I mean, there's none of that on these, because typically I think these pieces of plastic, the joints that hold all the posts together, generally come out a little further than the metal does, and there's nothing on these racks, especially because everything in here is plastic that is dangerous to touch. And I don't think I had an issue with casters either. So you know, the reason I went with Freedom Breeder is because it was actually less expensive to purchase this than it was to do from ARS, from one of their rodent racks. And I was not able to find the sort of customizability I was looking for with ARS. Now, the other caveat is this is coming from California. I'm in Pittsburgh, so basically coast to coast. This cost like $600 to ship to me, with you know, freight and liftgate. I actually don't remember pricing out ARS for what it cost to ship. However, and the one humongous issue kind of with the way Freedom Breeder does this is when you go to check out, they don't give you shipping quotes, which I don't understand. You have to request a shipping quote before you buy something. I don't understand that at this day and age. Like, it's not very hard to integrate shipping quotes, freight quotes into, you know, your checkout process. I purchased this June 5th, and I received it on August 22nd. So 2.5 months for it to get here. I think their website, I think, says 10 to 12 weeks lead time, or 12 to 16 weeks, and it, you know, fluctuates as things are necessary. But this thing cost roughly $4,000 after I purchased it and paid for the shipping costs. The snake racks from ARS have been a little less expensive than that. The 7030 I think is the cheapest because it has the least amount of tubs and the least amount of hardware, the least amount of levels and joints. These guys, the 5540s, I believe are probably around $3,500. So, you know, these are pretty much the same, close to the same in price, I believe. Now, whether or not somebody feels like a rodent rack is worth $4,000, I don't know. I can't even answer that yet, but I will let you know after I start using it, which is, I guess, this is my initial review. I will 100% have a long-term review when it comes time to me having had used this for a while. I know that from a breeding perspective, it's going to make my life a lot easier because I will be able to breed, like I did the math earlier, twice as many females, which means that I have twice as many litters of rats coming through here, which is, I think, necessary because I'm still having to buy frozen thawed at this point from Rodent Pro. I can't produce enough frozen. I really haven't been freezing anything lately because I've been taking so many of the live ones and feeding them to my picky eaters. My goal is that I'm trying to make myself self-sufficient so I don't have to buy frozen anymore, that I'm able to freeze off enough that I can do it all myself and do it all in-house and not send, you know, $400 to Rodent Pro every month and a half. So, you know, this, so far, I'm impressed with the build quality. I'm very happy with the way it looks in here. You know, this wonderful looking Freedom Breeder rack looks fantastic when you kind of, you know, if you look at that half of my snake room and you see, you know, the nice Freedom Breeder rodent rack here, my nice incubator from Sea Serpents, and all these wonderful ARS racks, and my Rubbermaid garbage can there, and my nice carts. And on the flip side, if you take it over this way, and you're looking at these janky homemade rat racks, and what's going on over here. Now this will look nicer, I think, because it's metal, and because once I get all these just the mouse tubs in there. But compared to these wood janky homemade rat racks, this looks a lot more professional. And again, it condenses a lot of what you're trying to do. You can fit a lot more in here than you can in here. And that's what I'm trying to do in the limited amount of space that I have. This is what I have to work with. I don't want to have to build too much through the middle of the room. I don't want to have to pull racks and put them through the middle, because that gives me less space to move around in here. So, I will definitely update everybody on this once I have used it for a few months. But so far, I am happy with the way it's built. The hardware looks and feels like it's top quality. There are, like I said, some concerns I have with sharp metal edges. I'm hoping that the nozzles, after you work out all the kinks, they don't leak at all. Other than that, it's a good looking piece of equipment. Got the Freedom Breeder logos there on all the stamps on all the metal, and then they also have it on the tub there too. So good at marketing. So that's it for right now. Kind of a long-winded review of my new Rodent setup, how I'm doing things for the future, and hopefully producing twice as many rats as I was previously, so that I am able to be self-sufficient.